Radu in Washington, you're calling and talking with Jenna and Matt. How are you?
Oh, hi, Matt and Jenna. Let me get the things that I wrote. How are you today?
Pretty good.
Well, I was happier a little while ago, but I'm at least encouraged that perhaps someone's going to get some help. So that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were some very intense conversations. It was pretty hard to watch. But yeah, thank you very much for what you're doing and for the eternal quest for truth that you're on. And I'm really curious to see what your take on this is going to be. So just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a software engineer working in Silicon Valley, and I have a background in mathematics and computer science. I've always considered myself to be agnostic. I used to think of the notion of God as being irrelevant. Like I grew up in Romania in an agnostic family where the topic of religion wasn't even a thing. So I wasn't subjected to the religious upbringing that Americans have. Laplace once said at one point that he has no need for that hypothesis when referring to God, and that's how I was. But now, I've learned about these ideas related to game theory, like the Nash equilibrium, decentralized computation, machine learning, Jungian psychology, mythology, macroeconomics, cryptography, and in particular Bitcoin. And I've come to see all religions and forms of faith in a different lens. And it's just like I'm losing my mind.
I'll say, because I don't know what the hell Bitcoin has to do with a god.
No, so I'm looking at this mathematical paper, right? And it's blowing my mind. It's like poetry. And I think of I like to see the world from first principles and from mathematics. So imagine this. Imagine humanity as being this big neural network. Like if you're familiar with machine learning, you have neurons that imitate neurons in your brain, right? If you imagine humanity as being a big neural network, and you imagine humans as being analogous to neurons,
except that humanity's not a big neural network.
Well, why not? Why is it not a big neural network?
Because apart from me communicate, can you read my mind?
No, you're sending impulses to me through waves, audio waves, text.
Right. I am doing something to communicate specifically, but it's not a neural network in the sense that we're linked. This is an opt-in scenario or an opt-out scenario. A neural network, the individual neurons don't have any say in whether they're a part of it.
Well, they're a mathematical operation, right? They take input and then they process some computation, and then they give outputs to other neurons.
And so what?
We take input from
so what?
The world, or
So what? That still doesn't make it a neural network. But see, so what you're doing is you've become fascinated with something, and you are arguing by analogy to try to get to something else. Well, this is nothing new. I mean, the ancient Greeks did this with phi, with 1.618, with the golden ratio. They saw, there's order and perfection. It all leads to this notion that there must be some governing, which is why they viewed mathematics and this stuff as something from God. But where's the God now? Where's the God in what you're seeing?
What is the God in what I'm seeing? I think these impulses that we send to each other are corrupt in a fundamental fashion, and I
don't care
because it's.
Oh, I'm curious. What do you believe in a God?
No, I used to be agnostic. I used to be like.
It says here that you told the call screener you believed in a God.
I don't want to know what you used to be. I want to know what you believe.
I believe in the poetry of mathematics and computer science and science being the answer to everything. That's what I believe.
Okay, well, I've got 13 minutes left on the show, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this, and we've got some theists waiting.
I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
I'm okay with believing in science.
Yeah, and I'm fine with poetry and beauty. What I have a problem with is when we extend poetry to make claims beyond it. But it seems like, while it looked like you were going to do that, I guess you're not. So maybe send an email to TV@atheist-community, and we'll see what's what.
Okay. People didn't believe in planes, and they don't believe in Bitcoin now, but maybe in the future.
People didn't believe in what?
People didn't believe in flying contraptions 100 years ago.
Yes, what you're doing. This is a fallacy. This is a known fallacy that was like, oh, they called so and so crazy. So here's the problem: they called two things crazy, and one of them turned out not to be, and one of them still is. So you shouldn't be sitting there going, well, nobody believed in planes, or nobody believed in Bitcoin. Maybe they will. Well, the time to believe something is after there's evidence for it, and not a moment before. And if one of your primary points is, yeah, but they thought so and so was crazy and he turned out not to be, that's a fallacious argument. That is completely fallacious argument. Do you recognize that?
No, like if some people don't understand,
then you're wrong, and you should go learn fallacies, because whether or not one person was right or wrong about a different subject is completely irrelevant to whether you are right about this subject.
do you admit to the possibility that you might be wrong, like about anything?
I'm wrong about all kinds of things, but I just asked you to recognize an actual fallacious bit of reasoning, and you don't want to do it, which means that there's even less reason for me to talk about this with you.
You know, the whole people didn't believe in planes. I think that before we had flying objects, I think it was completely reasonable to be skeptical that that was a possible thing until people witnessed it. Then we had evidence for planes that fly and carry people, and we can prove it. So that's how we know that he was right in the end. But until we have that, we can't assume that everyone else is right too.
You should Google appeal to ridicule. Thanks for calling.